Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 64th episode of the Triboro Podcast, and welcome back to Queens. It's been like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It's been a while. I'm sad. I haven't been able to talk about my Mets. Obviously, nothing's been going on.
You probably needed the break.
No. I still watch highlights. I still cry myself to sleep thinking what
This is your therapy.
Yes, this is. Yeah, it's been a while. Happy to finally talk about them. Offseason started yesterday on Monday at 5 p.m. Qualifying offers have been offered. Options have been declined or picked up. But before we get into offseason talk, some injury updates that are pretty crucial, big, I guess, for the Mets. So, your injury report brought to you by Triboro MD. Paul Blackburn. These are all from about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. This was from David Stern's end of season press conference type of thing. So Paul Blackburn, who was dealing with a spinal leak fluid in his back, ended up having surgery in October. He is going to be out 4 to 5 months. So that puts him around March, April. So right in the thick of spring training. So
Does that include rehab starts?
No idea. Well, I'm assuming it's spring training, so it's kind of like...
Well,
4 to 5 months.
Meaning he'll be ready
into.
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna be back for opening day. How about that?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So
he may pitch at the back end of spring training as rehab starts.
That's what I'm thinking. We're still gonna need time to build up. So Paul Blackburn, you can't pencil in for the start of the season. Hope his recovery's well. It's kind of a weird injury, kind of scary injury the way it sounds, but apparently it's not all that bad. The biggest one from this is Ronnie Mauricio, who tore his ACL almost a year ago at this point. Again, this was from about 2 weeks ago. He has not begun baseball activities. His rehab is progressing slower than the Mets have expected. Sucks for Ronnie. But don't want to poo-poo on people's parade. I don't really see a world where he gets a shot with the Mets, even if he was healthy. I'm still not that high on him. I still think he has a lot of holes in his swing and his play.
Especially with Acuna.
Forget about Acuna. I still think Brett Beatty could be better than Mauricio.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, especially with how well Acuna played.
Yeah.
I think that it's more... Because I'm thinking more like a starter role.
Yeah. I mean,
on an everyday starter role, I think with how well Acuna played, I just don't see there being...
a spot for him.
Beatty, I could see being a bench guy, every couple of 3 days a week,
right,
2 days a week. But I don't see that for
and
unfortunately
plus, coming off an ACL tear, you want him to play not as much as he can, but to get back into the swing of things. Again, he did not have a great minor league career. He's not a fantastic hitter.
He is now Javi Baez, a little better than now Javi Baez, but
I guess. I just, a 108 WRC plus in AAA, which is a high run environment. So he's a tick above average in a place where offense reigns supreme. But regardless, we'll talk more about Ronnie as the offseason progresses, but hopefully he's an option. I don't mind him as an option. I just don't think he's going to be all that. So hopefully his recovery speeds up and goes well. Denel Nunez, who missed a majority, not majority, but he missed most of the last, call it, quarter of the season. He's progressing well. They expect him to start throwing this month. So he was huge for the Mets when he did pitch, and I do have him as a bullpen piece for next year. So hopefully for a speedy recovery for Nunez. But that's all your injury stuff. Now, we'll do some housekeeping before we get into the free agents in the offseason. The Mets have declined Phil Maton's $7.75 million option for 2025. With the Mets, he pitched in 31 games, 28 innings for a 2.5 ERA with a 2.57 FIP. I am a little surprised by this. I think it was pricey, but I think it doesn't hurt to have a guy slotted into your bullpen. Almost $8 million for Phil Maton does sound like a lot. I do think they can do better for less, and that's probably the way they're thinking about it.
Can I potentially steal your thunder?
Go for it.
Do you think there's a realistic world where they re-sign him but for less?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. David Stearns even said it yesterday after 5 p.m. He did like a little press conference thing that they'll remain in touch. Well, if the match fits, I wouldn't mind Phil Maton back. He was very good with the Mets. As much as he struggled in the postseason, I think that has a lot to do with overuse. Heading into the postseason, he was used like 4 out of the 5 days, including the 3 wildcard games. But you split his season in 2. With the Rays, he appeared in 40 games and pitched 35 innings. With the Mets, he appeared in 31 games and threw 28. So that's a 9-game difference for a 7-inning, a little less than 7-inning difference because of points and whatever. So I think it's just overuse. I wouldn't mind seeing him back, but not as a setup guy, maybe like a 7th-inning guy. He's a soft tossing guy. He's not gonna blow it by you. His fastball barely touches 90. But I would not mind Phil Maton back. DJ Stewart and Joey Lucchesi were outrighted to AAA, but they both elected free agency. I'll never forget you, September 2023, DJ Stewart and Joey Lucchesi, for giving the Braves a run for their money with their season on the line. So those 2 guys are free agents. I hope Lucchesi gets a shot somewhere. He never really got a shot with the Mets. I feel like he could be a very decent long man out of the bullpen, at least.
Do you think the Mets bring him back? No.
I think they have too much pitching depth, which is amazing to say. In the minor leagues, especially from, call it, single A to double A, do you have guys moving up pretty quickly? I just don't think they have a spot for him to kind of stash him in triple A in a sense.
I just wanted to say really quickly, just for people that don't know, that does happen a lot of the time, where a guy will elect free agency, not like what he sees, and then go back to that team.
Yeah.
So just because, like you said, you don't think it, but just because he did elect free agency doesn't mean that he won't be back at one point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just worth noting.
And then the qualifying offers. So the 2 locks going into it were Sean Manaea and Pete Alonso, who obviously both got it, and I expect both to decline it pretty quickly. They also offered it to Luis Severino. Severino had a good year. Obviously not anything near where he was with the Yankees. He's a much different pitcher. Didn't strike out a ton of guys. Was more pitch to contact, more of a sinker slider guy. He ended the year for 3.91 ERA, for 4.21 FIP in 182 innings. The qualifying offer is a tick above 21 a year. I think that's much better than Luis Severino can do on the market. I don't think anyone's going to give him 20 a year. David Stearns said it last night that they'd love to have him back. That's why they offered it to him. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't hate it because if he's back on a $20 million contract, that's fine. He's a good 3-starter. That's probably where he pencils in. The Mets do need work on their rotation, so bodies help. And plus, I'll get into it a little later, I would love a 6-man rotation. I would. So Severino can pencil in as your 3-4 out of your 6, and I will greatly appreciate that. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think the Mets shouldn't have? Do you think he's going to accept it?
It's so interesting because realistically, how much do you see Severino get on the free agency market?
17 a year tops. Tops.
For what, 3 years?
Tops.
That's what I'm saying. Where it's like
you can't not look at his injury history. As much as he was not hurt this entire year, he made 31 starts. He pitched over 180 innings.
When does he have to accept it by?
I think it's like November 15th. It's like 2 weeks, give or take.
Because I think, like, realistically, call it, what do you think he gets on the free agency market? I think he almost get max is like a Stroman deal. Whereas, like, the
like a
236,
yeah, 235, whatever. Yeah.
I don't know if he gets that, though, because of the
Neither
injury
do I.
history. So it's like,
I think a team will give him 3 years. He pitched almost 200 innings if you include postseason.
yeah, I think you kind of saw that with the Yankees, where when he signed that $460 million deal, I think he's the type of guy that he would rather, especially as kids, young kids, he would rather have
Stability.
the stability and kind of the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So I don't think he accepts it, but I could also see a world where the Mets and him realize, like, okay, that's honestly not that bad of a deal, and if you're willing to give me the qualifying offer, what happens if we had another year or two?
Right. We'll give you 230. Call it.
235, whatever.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so I can see a world where he doesn't accept the qualifying offer but comes back.
Yeah. Me too. Definitely. He loves New York. I don't think that's.
That's not in question.
Yeah.
Obviously, his
obviously-
family's there.
Yeah.
They've been there for the last how many years?
Right.
So
The Yankees don't really have a spot for him, if at all. So if he wants to stay in New York, it would be with the Mets. So ultimately, I don't think he accepts it because I think, like you said, he's going to want that stability. But the thing is, like, would you call 2 years a stability thing?
maybe 2 in a club option.
Maybe, but still, that could easily be 2 years. That's tough. I don't envy the decision for Severino. Family plays a lot into a lot of these contracts. That's something that some people don't really think about. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think he accepts it. I think he's gonna test his luck on the market. But if he comes back, I will, with arms wide open.
With arms wide open.
Yeah. So I'll accept him back. But ultimately, I do think he's gonna try to get a little more years elsewhere. All right. That's qualifying offers. That's the housekeeping. That's everything. Let me say this about the Mets offseason. From my remembrance, this is the first time in quite a long time, by a long time I mean a few years, that the Mets are going into the offseason with a president of baseball operations or GM, with a coaching staff in place. There's not a lot of movement in the front office for the first time in a while. So that's exciting because they can really focus on the player aspect. They did make a few moves in the front office, like scouting and international scouting and stuff like that. But they have their coach. They have Carlos Mendoza. They are bringing back the entire coaching staff. David Stearns is at the helm. It doesn't sound like he's in a rush to find a GM. So the first time in a long time, this Mets team has somebody already in place from the get-go. I'm trying to think. Because last year they had to hire Stearns. The year before that, they had to hire Buck. So,
And then you
I
go
don't know.
all the way back, where it's like Luis Rojas.
Right. I mean, Mickey Callaway
Oh my
had to
God, I
hire
can't think of his
Luis
name right now.
Rojas.
Carlos Beltran.
Right.
That whole
Beltran then turned to Luis Rojas. And then it was Jared Porter. Oh my God, what's his name? Zach Scott.
I feel like you also had a lot of movement
Billy Epler.
in the pitching, like the pitching department too, or like a decent, not as much as the manager, but I feel like you had some there too.
Well, like coaching wise?
Yeah.
I think Hefner's been here for a while.
Didn't you have someone else like a couple years ago?
I mean, hitting coach changed a few times.
But the point stands that there's been a
There's
lot.
stability
Yeah.
now, which is huge. I think that
The Mets said every single coach is gonna be back, right?
the entire coaching staff will be back, which, again, I think is huge. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. The fact that they actually have stability. It might look better for players because, you're not worried about finding someone to negotiate a contract with. As a player, who you will be playing for, who's going to coach you. I think this is absolutely huge. And it just, from an organization standpoint, to have a year where there's not a lot of movement, I think has to feel really good. But that's enough of that. And I'm going to have one last, I call it assumption, before I get into my plans. I do not want the Mets to sign Corbin Burns. I am staying far away from Corbin Burns. Not because he's not good. I do not want to pay him, call it 30, 35 a year for 7 to 8 years. He's 29. He's going to be 30 next year. He turned 30 a month ago, but still, he's going to have his age 30 season next year. But from 2021, when he won the Cy Young, up until this point, his strikeouts have been decreasing each year. In 2021, it was at 12.6 K per nine, down to a 10.8, to a 9.29, to an 8.38. His strikeout percentage went from a 35.6 to a 30.5 to 25.5 to 23.1. He's lost some of his movement on his cutter. His whiffs, I believe, have been decreasing as well. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of red flags with Corbin Burnes.
It's also crazy because he's not that old.
No, he's 30. And I think that's the biggest thing. Because he's 30, he's going to get like a 7-8 year deal. And I just don't want any part of it.
Yeah. Like, he's not like that's for a pitcher, you'd almost say that's entering their prime.
Absolutely.
Like, I think like 28, 29, 30 is when you could say like they're entering their prime. And I don't.
If
that's
whatever
a lot.
If a team wants to sign Corbin Burnes, they're going to get a good 3-4 years, 5 max. If this stuff stabilizes. If not, you're going to get, 2-3 years good of Corbin Burnes. Then he's going to be, a good 2, a good 3 for $35 million for 5 years of that contract. Don't get me wrong. I think Corbin Burnes is an excellent pitcher. Whoever signs him is going to be very happy. I just do not want the Mets to sign Corbin Burnes. I don't want the money. The strikeouts decreasing is a little scary. The cutter losing shape is a little worrying. So I am going to have to pass on Corbin Burnes.
I would. It's crazy to say, just like in general, but first off-season plan: Corbin Burnes. No.
Away. Sorry. I do not want any part of him unless he's taking like a 5-year deal, which he's not.
Yeah. No reason to.
I don't want any part of Corbin Burnes.
If he takes a 5-year deal, his agent is stupid.
Something went horribly wrong.
The medicals or something.
Something went horribly wrong. But now that we got that off my chest, the Mets have a lot of free agents. There's
so many different ways the Mets can go about this.
Yes, I agree. They have 16, 14, something like that, and they added more because Phil Maton and what. If you look at their Fangraphs free agent tracker, it's a lot. I mean, there's some names I didn't put here, like Omar Narvaez and Jake Diekman and Hauser, which I just. So, we're gonna do a little gut check. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna say you a name, yes or no, if they're gonna be on the Mets next year. Are you ready? Sean Manaea.
Yes.
Jesse Winker.
Yes.
Pete Alonso. Come on.
Yes.
Brooks Raley. He's recovering from Tommy John. Okay. Ryan Stanek.
No.
Jose Iglesias.
Yes.
Severino.
No.
Quintana.
No.
Drew Smith.
No.
Harrison Bader.
No.
JD Martinez.
No.
Adam Ottavino.
No.
Okay.
Adam Ottavino is going to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Interesting. You think Jesse Winker's going to be back?
I gotta just because of the comments about Stearns.
Okay.
The other day, it sounded like there's a positive relationship. Then again, Jesse Winker is a journeyman.
Yeah.
He's played on 5 teams so far?
Yes.
5, 6 teams.
Cincinnati, Seattle,
Washington,
Brewers, Mets. 5.
Yeah. So I could see him not really caring, kind of just going to another team.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he loved the Mets, and I think the Mets loved him. So I could. Gut feeling, I think it'd be a wrong move on the Mets to not bring him back.
Really? Okay.
I truly I believe that just because he brought so much for you. I mean, I could also see because they just didn't play him in the postseason.
Right.
So that could be another reason.
That's stupid, but yeah, that's.
But
Never
it's
mind. That's a
kind
discussion
of like
for
a
another time.
telling thing, where it's like that's how little faith they had in him, which didn't.
I wouldn't call it.
I mean,
I don't know.
obviously
Yeah,
it's different. It's
tough to
different
say.
than Marcus Stroman,
Yeah.
but like they didn't have faith in Stroman. That's why they didn't play him. You could say they didn't have that much faith in Winker. That's why they barely played him. Even though obviously
Yeah.
Winker played a lot more than Stroman did, obviously.
Yeah. And when
but-
he did, he was excellent. So
No.
if that was the case, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
oh yeah,
But so I went through, and I didn't went through this as if they are going to be back. I went this as would I like the back? Sean Manaea, obviously. Pete Alonso, obviously. J.C. Winker, if you could figure it out, sure. Brooks Raley, he's recovering from Tommy John. He was good with the Mets. If you want to give him like a year
and one.
exactly to help the recovery, yes. Ryan Stanek, yes. I would like Ryan Stanek. I think he was very good in the postseason. He's probably a very good seventh inning guy. I like the energy he brings. The fuck you fastballs are amazing. This is going to hurt a lot of people. And Mom, I'm sorry. Jose Iglesias, I said maybe. I am not itching to bring Jose Iglesias back.
I think they bring him back, but I'm not sure it's the right move.
Yeah.
Just because he's kind of one of those guys that you see it all the time that they have one crazy year. They got the vibes. They got the clubhouse energy. Someone overpays for them, and then right off the face of the earth.
Yeah. I would, if they bring him back, I hope it's in the role that he started with, which is a bench guy playing every 2 to 3 days. 3 to 4 days, whatever it is.
Especially with, you don't know how much he's going to play, but McNeil's going to be healthy
Right.
going into the year, and that was the main reason why he got a lot of playing time.
That's something I forgot.
He also
too.
got Acuna, but go on.
Yeah, that's something I forgot too. Before I went into the free agent stuff, I am going under the assumption, which I think is not crazy to say, Starling Marte and Jeff McNeil are going to be on this team next year. I don't think there's a world, unless they're a part of a bigger package, that you can get rid of those contracts. Starling Marte is making a little over $20 million a year. Jeff McNeil is making around $15 a year. And McNeil has another year after this, I believe. So I don't think there's a world where they get rid of those contracts. So I am operating under that fact.
Especially because I don't see them bringing back JD Martinez.
Right.
I
so
think
Starling Marte is going to be your almost primary DH.
Should be.
Right. But back to Iglesias. Words cannot express how much I love Jose Iglesias this season and what he did for the team. Forget about on the field, but from OMG and that whole marketing thing was amazing. I still get a little nostalgia, if you call it. Can it be nostalgic if it's a month ago?
Yes.
Of, listening to OMG and all that. He is, how old is he?
32.
He's 34. He's going to be 35 in January. And it's a very hard way to play when you're relying on BABIP. BABIP is batting average on balls in play, basically meaning you put the ball in play. A higher BABIP means a lot of those more balls turn into hits, but that can be considered a little lucky because not everything's going to be a hit if you hit it, if you make contact and put it in play. His weighted on base average and his weighted runs created plus both correlated extremely, I'll show you, Justin, extremely strongly with his BABIP. His BABIP went up, his production went up. His BABIP went down, his production went down.
And for the Yankees, you saw that with Anthony Volpe.
Volpe was a huge perpetrator of that.
Where last year, a lot of the time, his BABIP had a direct correlation with his weighted on base, expected slugging, all that stuff.
It's just not a way to live. It's very hard to have the same production he did. And he ran almost 400 BABIP. His BABIP was 382.
Insane. That's absurd.
382. In the postseason, it was 286, and you saw how much he struggled. Albeit a lot of it was because he was just chasing and striking out.
Wasn't having competitive at-bats.
But that just goes to show how much he can correlate. So as much as I would love him to be back, I putting him as a maybe, leaning no, just because it's a hard way to live with that being said. Luis Severino, I said maybe. Shockingly, like we said, he got the qualifying offer, so there's a higher chance of him coming back than I probably would have thought. Jose Quintana, I also said maybe. I think the Mets fill out the rotation with some more quote-unquote stuff guys, but you can do a lot worse than Jose Quintana. Jose Quintana, you know what you're getting, you know? A 3.7 to a 4 ERA. He'll make almost every start. He'll go 6 innings, give up 2, 3, maybe 4 runs on a bad day. Like, that's a perfectly fine back-end starter. I just feel like the Mets have a few of those. David Peterson, as huge as a year he's had, I don't expect him to be a 2.9, a sub-3 ERA guy. Paul Blackburn, yes, he's going to miss opening day. He's another back-end guy. Tyler McGill, same old story.
Then again, though, you said you would love a 6-man rotation.
I think you fill out the 6 with in-house options.
Okay.
Because call it, you need like 2 starters. I'm kind of jumping ahead here. But call it, you need like 2 starters. Because you have Senga, then I do blank, Peterson, Blackburn, McGill/Buto.
Okay.
That's another thing, which I'll get into a second, but I'll finish off this. Harrison Beta. Harrison Beta.
That fit perfectly, though.
Harrison Beta.
No, it's Harrison Beta.
Beta.
Like, Harrison was normal, but...
I said no. I'm going to do like a 70-30 no, 30 being maybe, because the center field market is abysmal. You know what you're getting with Bader. He fit in with the clubhouse. He was a good vibes guy. You can do better, but if they bring him back on a cheap deal, I'm not going to cry over it.
I think it's more 85-15 now.
Yeah.
Because Taylor's under contract, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I just feel like you kind of ran him into the ground. I feel like he's one of those guys that does
better
well.
and less playing time.
Yes, but the more he plays, you saw in the postseason, and plus he's very similar to Bader. He's very prone to chasing and whiffing and striking out. He just comes with more power. So I think, they need someone to spell Taylor. I'm not operating with Taylor being your everyday center fielder. Although I love Tyrone Taylor. I think he's an excellent 4th outfielder. But regardless. JD Martinez, no. Thank you. I think you did a lot for the team. I think you did a lot for the hitting side of things, especially with Mark Vientos. You had your time. I appreciate it. You had some big moments. I think if he doesn't get a job, I think it's time to hang up the cleats.
Yeah.
If you want to be hitting coach, come on back.
I think the same thing could be said about another player that you're going to get into, but...
Adam Ottavino?
Yeah.
He's pitching in the Dominican Winter League.
He's a guy that I think will be like Cano, where even when he's at a Major League Baseball, he just wants to pitch.
Yeah.
So he's going to pitch somewhere.
The thing with Ottavino, I don't want him back because he's just a walking stolen base. His peripherals aren't terrible. An 86th percentile expected ERA, 88th percentile average exit velocity, 86th percentile K percentage, 81st percentile and hard hit rate. I think someone's going to give him
Don't do it to yourself, Nick.
I don't want it. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm chilling. He had his time. He had 3 years with the Mets. I'm cool with it. I hope he gets a job somewhere else because he's just an excellent pitcher. Like, he's a pitcher. I love hearing him talk pitching. But Adam Ottavino, thank you. Next.
You made me think about it. I'm surprised there's no kind of, or at least mainstream, and what's the word? Analytic for stolen bases on pitchers. At least like that it's their fault.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to quantify.
I mean, you could do it based on time.
Right.
Or like how big of a jump it is.
Right.
Like,
but if you say a pitcher's slow to the plate, but they have an excellent catcher, the catcher's saving them.
I think it would be more so time, like how much of a lead
they
the
allow,
runner
I guess.
gets.
No, that's fair.
Or like
that's
how early the jump is.
That's fair. That's a good one. I'll create that. I got it. No.
Do it.
Adrian Hauser, no, don't need to talk about it. Jake Diekman, no, don't need to talk about it. Omar Narvaez, no, don't need to talk about it. All right.
Did you mention, what'd you say on Severino?
Maybe.
On
The right deal. If
the right deal, okay.
Again, if he accepts the qualifying offer, with arms wide open,
That it was for Severino, yes.
So let's look at this. They're starting pitching right now. Like I mentioned, it's Senga, Peterson, Blackburn, McGill, Jose Buto. They need starting pitching. That's not, what's it called?
Debatable.
That's not in question. That's not debatable. Catching, I think they're set. Obviously, Francisco Alvarez. They'll most likely tender Luis Torrens. He was an excellent backup. First base is kind of really don't know at the moment. I guess first base would be Vientos right now. Second base, you got McNeil, you got Acuna, you got Mauricio. Brett Beatty played some second base in the minors. Third base, if someone else is at first, Vientos is at third, Beatty at third. Shortstop, obviously Lindor, Baby Acuna. Left field, you got Nimmo. Center field, you got Taylor. Right field, you got Marte. And DH, you really don't have any. As for the bullpen, you got Diaz, you got Reed Garrett, and you got Deadnail Nunez. 3 guys. So there's some in-house options that you can look at, but they're probably going to need to add two or three relievers.
That's also the position you get away with only having 3 guys.
Right, exactly. So the Mets need, obviously, starting pitching. They need a first baseman. And I think I would say they need a center fielder. I love Taylor. I think he's just a fourth outfielder. They need a center fielder. David Stern said it yesterday that they do expect Nimmo to play left field. They love Taylor, but Nimmo is a left fielder for the time being until otherwise. So I think they need a center fielder. They could use a corner outfielder. Marte just got awful there. There's a pretty big right fielder out on the market. And then DH.
No, there's not.
DH, you can kind of just like
Mix
flip around.
match.
Right. So starting pitching, first base, corner outfield, I'll call, and center field, and obviously bullpen. So I'm going to get into what I'm calling my ideal offseason, or basically plan Soto. Not even calling it plan A, because everything goes to Soto.
So your dream scenario.
I guess, yes. I'm going to call it ideal.
Okay.
Dream is a little like, it's
favorite
over there. Sure. So, Kodai Senga.
Okay.
Blake Snell. I can't believe I'm saying this.
You hate Blake Snell, too.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I would much rather Blake Snell on a shorter contract than Corbin Burns for 7 to 8 years.
That's fair.
I'm giving Snell a 4-year 120. 3 years would be, I think 4 years is probably what he gets. So calling it 120. After Snell, I just can't believe I'm saying I want Blake Snell. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm going to quickly get on a tangent because a lot of the other good starting pitching, I mean, Burns, obviously. The other thing with Burns, qualifying offer. I love Max Fried. Max Fried would be really cool. Qualifying offer. Then I'll get into him a little later. So, Max Fried, I'm not sure how that can, I don't know how realistic that is. I think he's a West Coast guy. I think he ends up with one of the 3 over there. Just hope it's not the Dodgers.
Don't discount the Athletics.
Anyways, so Blake Snell, he had some injuries in the season, but when he was fully healthy and he was pitching, he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball past Chris Sale. So Blake Snell, 4 years, $120 million. Sean Manaea, 3 years, $65 million. 3 years, $60 would be sweet spot. 3 years is the sweet spot. You get to 4 years, I'm a little less on board. The thing with Manaea is he pitched the most innings in his entire career between the regular season and postseason. He changed his arm angle in the middle of the season,
which did wonders.
Right, but the other thing is how sustainable is it? Because the guy he was copying was Chris Sale. Chris Sale, up until this point, has not been the healthiest pitcher in baseball. So that's a little... I'm not going to take the credit for that. Joe DeMeo on SNY brought that point up, and I thought it was a really good point. You know, how is his arm going to react to pitching there? He did it for, call it, I think it was July onwards.
Call it 100 innings.
Right. How's it going to be over 180 in a whole season? How sustainable is it? So that's some questions that the Mets got to answer. But if all looks good, and for the first time in a long time, I trust the moves this front office makes. I'd love Sean Manaea back. The Chris Bassett 360 deal sounds good.
I was just going to say, this isn't necessarily, because obviously two completely different bodies, but look at the injury history for Chris Sale. Obviously, it's not all the arm slot.
Yeah, I think Manaea has some buff to him that Chris Sale does not.
But it's just definitely something to note, like you said, about how it's going to be with the innings. And
yeah.
I don't want to say it's concerning, but it's definitely something
A question mark.
Yeah.
So your rotation with that would look like Kodai Senga, Blake Snell, Sean Manaea, David Peterson, Paul Blackburn, and Tyler McGill, Jose Butto. Until proven otherwise, I am going under the impression that Jose Butto is going to be a starting pitcher. If they want to move him to the bullpen, great. He was good there. But he only pitched every 2 to 3 days in the bullpen. You need to pitch more. Maybe if he has a whole offseason as a reliever. I think Tyler McGill needs to be a reliever. His fucking starting experiment, it was done 2 fucking years ago. I'm over Tyler McGill as a starting pitcher. Put him in the fucking bullpen and let him throw 99 miles an hour.
And you also want to see him for as few innings as possible.
Yes. Regardless, catchers are set. First base, Pete Alonso. 6 years, $156 million. I think 5 years is the sweet spot. I forgot how much that is a year. I forgot my math.
What is it? 6 what?
156. That's 26 a year.
Yeah.
That's a tick below Freddie Freeman. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes more than Freddie Freeman. Because again, the thing you have to gotta keep in mind is not even age. It's Pete Alonso, drop off. Christian Walker, drop off. Paul Goldschmidt.
I wouldn't say it's that significant of a drop off between Alonso and Christian Walker. Not that
I think Alonso's been doing it for longer.
Fair.
Walker has only had 3 good years.
That's fair.
And he's like 35, I think.
I don't think he's that old.
Yeah. No, he is. 34, 35.
33 years old.
I thought he was 35.
His March 28th is his birthday, so going into his 34 season.
Okay. So not as old, but Alonso's 30. So he's still got 4 years on him. So I don't think it's crazy to say he can make more than Freeman because he is the top first baseman on the market.
2 years later.
Right. So, but 156, I think that's a good number.
I think I would expect another year though.
Yeah.
That's my. I think I'd. I'm thinking like 7 years.
If you go 7 years, I don't know if I could do 7 years.
Call
really
it
don't.
7 at the same AAV.
I don't know if I could do 7 years.
Call it 7 at 24.
I don't think I could do 7
Okay.
years. It's not the money.
It's the years. Okay.
It's the years. Look, if they want to give him a 3-year, $90 million deal, don't care. It's the years. You know what I mean? I love
300.
Alonso. Sure.
Okay.
It's the years. I love Alonso. I want him to be back. I hope he's back. I hope he breaks every offensive record in the Mets franchise. But there's got to be a hard line. He's an aging first baseman who had the worst year in his career. But if a team is going to overpay for a homegrown player, it's going to be the home team. Because you already got possibly his best years on his rookie $700,000 a year contract or whatever you want to call it, like pre-ARB. So
you also know what you're getting with him.
Right.
That's the thing that I feel like people don't talk about is that you know the player. You know that they, for the most part, obviously it's not the same for everyone, but in Pete Alonso's case, you know that he plays well in New York.
Right.
You know that the fans love him. He loves the fans. And also from a marketing standpoint, it's so much easier to sell people on homegrown guys. Obviously, there's exceptions.
Yeah.
Like Juan Soto, Blake Snell, whatever.
Right.
But it is a lot easier to sell fans on Pete Alonso than it is to sell them on Christian Walker.
Yeah.
For the Mets specifically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think Pete Alonso is more valuable to the Mets than he can be to any other team.
I'd agree on that.
So that's why if they overpay Alonso, I'm not going to be mad. Yes, Steve Cohen has all the money in the world, whatever. But it's just from the fact of what he means to this team, what he means to this fan base, goes beyond baseball. And sometimes the contract reflects that. So 156 would be my money range. Second base, McNeil, I think, starts that. He has the starting job until proven otherwise. He made some mechanical adjustments in the second half, had an excellent second half before he got hurt. I don't think you can discount that because he made some changes to his swing, which worked out. Mark Vientos at third base, obviously. Francisco Lindor at shortstop. Left field to right field, you got Brandon Nimmo, Tyrone Taylor, Juan Soto. I haven't pegged that 14 years, 650. I do think his free agency is a little. I think it's 45 a year. If I did the math.
45,
correctly.
whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
I had 46.
I think his free agency is a little, quote unquote, overhyped. It's going to be the Mets. It's going to be the Yankees. The Dodgers are probably going to look at him.
I don't think Dodgers.
I don't think it's a realistic, but they're going to look at him.
I'm just going to mention just because the Passan thing. That Passan said that they're not gonna come close to the Yankees or Mets. But
I don't think so either. But they're definitely checking on him.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Giants will look in because they've been begging everyone to check give their money, and maybe the Blue Jays.
I've seen Blue Jays
because they were in on Ohtani. I'm sure they're looking for someone to spend big on.
It's also a thing of for the Blue Jays, it's a double whammy. Because if you could get Soto and take him away from the Yankees, so
right. So give or take 5-6 teams. Maybe there's someone I'm forgetting.
Just add an NL East team in there. And then you have direct competition for the Mets, direct competition for the Yankees, direct competition for the Giants.
Right.
Scott Boras is going crazy.
Yeah. I don't see a world where he hits like a ridiculous amount. You know what I mean? I think it's going to stay relatively.
I don't see a world where he hits a ridiculous amount. Has him getting 650.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, but like I don't think he's getting 50 a year. I don't think he's going to like sniff 800. You know, I think 650 is a good range.
I think there's a decent chance he gets 15 years though.
Maybe.
And I feel like
maybe.
I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, if it's a thing of if the Yankees don't sign Juan Soto, they were at 14 years, he wanted 15, they don't give him that extra 15 years, I'm going to be furious.
Yeah.
I don't care. You're getting a Hall of Famer in the prime of his career, one of the best players in baseball. If that 1 year is your holdup, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like that would piss me off to no end.
No, I agree. So I think that makes sense. I think that could do it. And then for your bullpen, just a few guys because you can go wherever. I think you can get this guy on a minor league deal. Was it Ryan? Is that his first name? Ryan Baroque.
Oh, yeah. I believe that's his first name.
Yes. A lefty from the Pirates who didn't pitch a lot last year because, was it Carpal tunnel?
Carpal tunnel, yes. He pitched 11 innings.
Yeah, he has really good chase, really good whiff percentage. He doesn't get hit that hard. He has a good ground ball percentage. He has a good strikeout. This is a guy I think you can get on a minor league deal. This is a lefty that the Mets need. Obviously, again, there's a lot of in-house options. You know, you have Nate Lavender is coming off Tommy John, so I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for opening day. But as far as lefties, there's not a ton of options. A lot of the options are right-handed. Eric Orrs, he has a good changeup, so he's good. He could be good against lefties. But they don't have a lefty, and with Brooks Raley and Danny Young still on the roster, I don't trust him that much. His stuff is disgusting. I just don't trust the control. Then I said Nunez, Garrett, think they bring back Ryan Stanek, like 1 year, $5 million deal, call it around that range. I want the Mets to sign Clay Holmes. I am giving Clay Holmes a 2-year, $20 million deal.
28.
20. He was okay as a closer. Then, obviously, he had his blow-ups.
Okay is generous.
I know. His stats are a lot better in non-save situations. To Justin's point, you can't bring the guy on with runners on.
That is the cardinal sin with Clay Holmes.
Yeah.
Putting him on with runners on.
But I think he's still an excellent pitcher. I just don't think he's closer materials. Good thing. Mets don't need a closer. You can have him set up for Edwin Diaz. But I like Clay Holmes a lot. I think he could be a really good fit.
Would you add a third year on that?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Just curious.
2 years ago. And then for the bench, you need a backup infielder, a backup outfielder, and something else. Those guys you can pick up. Yeah. You have Brett Beatty as your backup infielder. You can have.
Well, he'd be backup both.
He's barely played the outfield.
Fair.
You can. Luke Ritter, if you tender him, he had a really good season in the minors. He could be a backup outfielder. Ways to go with it. I didn't really focus on it. But with this Plan Soto, you're adding $871 million. What?
$871 million.
Holy
Just
crap.
call it
Yeah,
that.
$871 million in total. On an average annual value basis, you're adding $125 million, 100,000. So, yeah, points, whatever. So that will bring the 2025 payroll to about 280,000.
There's no way
million.
you only added 125. It sounds like you added so much more.
Snell's 40 a year. Manaea.
How much? 40?
30 a year. Excuse me. Manaea is around 20. Call it 22. Alonso is 27. Soto is 45. Holmes is 10. Stanek is 5.
The way you're talking, I thought it was gonna be like 150 easy.
Yeah, 125 million, 100,000, which brings the payroll to $283,550,000. That's realistic. That's, again, my ideal scenario, but I say that's pretty realistic. I don't think they push past 300. I think they kind of want to maintain that like 275, 280 range. But got to have backup plans. So I have 3 backup plans. They're very, very broad. So I go Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Because, again, that was Plan Soto. So this is operating in the world where you don't get Juan Soto. First base, Pete Alonso. I think if you don't get Soto, Pete is a lock to come back.
If you don't get Soto and you don't get Alonso, that's very hard. The same as it's very hard for the Yankees to sell fans on the team without Soto. If you try selling a Mets team without Pete Alonso or Soto and or both, that's very hard for me.
If Soto is not on the Mets, Pete Alonso is a lock to come back. Then you sign or trade for a top starting pitcher. Well, I worded it. You sign a Blake Snell, a Max Fried, maybe even a Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty out of those 3 would be the lowest on my list just because injuries. I don't really know what you're getting.
Back.
Right. I don't know what you're getting with Jack Flaherty there.
He seems like a West Coast guy anyways.
Yeah. Trade. This could be interesting. You could swing a trade for Garrett Crochet. You could talk to Seattle, get one of their guys. Do they want to give up on the Luis Castillo contract?
Ooh,
or
that would be.
Are they willing to give up Logan Gilbert?
They need bats bad.
Right. Do the Blue Jays want to start over? Can you call about Kevin Gausman? Is Kevin Gausman available? The Cardinals want a lower payroll. You're going to call a Sonny Gray. So there's options on the trade market for a top end starting pitcher.
Something I just thought about. If you don't bring back Pete Alonso,
Vlad,
would you hate that?
No.
Okay.
Take on.
Did you have him in any of your plans?
I didn't because I just don't see them trading Vlad.
I don't see it either, but
But look, you take on the Gaussman contract. Maybe not even Gaussman. You take on the Springer contract. Bring in Vlad.
Marte DH, Springer right field.
Right. Not terrible. I would accept that. I just don't see Vlad moving. And then you sign a tier 2 starting pitcher. That's your Sean Manaeas, your Luis Severinos, which I think is a little lower than tier 2. Walker Buehler. I don't think he's leaving the Dodgers, but I would love Buehler. Nathan Eovaldi is a free agent. You can sign on Nathan Eovaldi.
If the Yankees sign a free agent, I would love it to be Nathan Eovaldi for a pitcher. I love Nathan Eovaldi.
So that range of pitchers, you sign one of them. You go get a center fielder from the trade market. Cedric Mullins. The Orioles have a plethora of young position players, a lot of outfielders. Was it Kierstad, Kauser? Who's the other one? I feel like there's one more. I don't know. But do they re-sign Anthony Santander?
Looking at their top prospects, they don't have Dylan Beavers is the only outfielder in their top 10 that's projected to be 2025.
Right. So, but point being, they have guys coming up. I mentioned Garrett Crochet as potential trade. Do you also bring in Luis Robert Jr. in that trade? He plays center field. He had an abysmal 2024.
That's a package.
That would be a package. But I do think the Mets make a trade this offseason, like a decent trade. They set themselves up if they have guys like, do you get rid of Brett Beatty because, give him a change of scenery? Do you sell high in Luis Angel Acuna? Do you give up a Jet Williams? Things like that. So I do think they make a trade. I think they're well positioned for a trade. Cody Bellinger opted into his contract with the Cubs. I think the Cubs are going to try to be competitive. Do you call the Cubs about a Cody Bellinger? Maybe you take on the Jameson Taillon contract as well. Right. Money talks.
I was more so saying that's like 45 a year they are adding to that payroll. Taillon's making about 18. Bellinger, I think, is 27.
Yeah. But, again, options. The center field market is not great. It's Harrison Bader, Michael A. Taylor. Then you sign an outfield/DH guy who can do both. You sign a Jock Peterson. You bring back a Jesse Winker. Tyler O'Neill had a really good year. He's injury prone, so there's that. Michael Conforto had a very sneaky, solid year.
In a place that's not good for lefties.
In that place, it's not good for lefties.
Probably one of the worst ballparks in baseball for lefties.
Just quickly on Conforto. I would not hate a reunion. He posted second best hard hit percentage of his career, third best barrel percentage of his career. I think what's that top? His sixth best expected weighted on base average. He hits the shit out of the ball. His bat speed's still really good. He doesn't chase. He strikes out, but that's always been Conforto. Again, not a really great defender. That's why I like outfield DH type. Michael Conforto, if you want to come back, I wouldn't hate it. Now, my hot take of a century.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, boy.
If the Astros lose Alex Bregman, I think they start selling. If the Astros start selling, you go get Kyle Tucker to play right field if you miss out on Juan Soto. Because you look at this Astros team.
Honestly, even if you don't miss out on Juan Soto,
get
him
Kyle
and
Tucker?
Force him to be center field.
I don't know how good of a center fielder he would be.
But that offensive outfield.
Nimmo, Tucker, Soto.
You don't care if it's not a good.
I mean, put Nimmo to center.
Nimmo back to center.
Put
and then
Soto to left, Tucker and right. The defense might be a little shaky, especially left.
That's the best offensive outfield in baseball, and it may not even be close.
Yeah. So I think there's a very real possibility the Astros could sell. If the Astros sell, you call for Kyle Tucker. I don't really want anything about Framber Valdez. I'm not a fan of his.
Tuve to the Yankees.
Imagine. That would be funny.
God, dude,
And
that'd
then
be horrible.
another kind of just option, Taylor Ward of the Angels. Call him. Be like, hey, is he available?
No Nelson.
What's going on? Huh?
No Michael Nelson.
No, he's not moving.
Wait,
but
like leaving LA, or he's physically not moving because he can't anymore?
both, maybe. So there could be options for outfield/DH. And then I think you need to sign a utility infielder, a Kike Hernandez. A Garrett Hampson could be interesting. He plays everywhere, and he's fast as shit. Jose Iglesias is also another option. And then you can, put Beatty on the bench to fill that out. I'm not a huge fan of having prospects on the bench. Brett Beatty, though, he's kind of had his chances. He's had his shot. This could be the best. What's it called? This could be the best role for him. I wouldn't put Acuna on the bench. I wouldn't want Acuna to be on the bench.
My thing with
Brett Beatty, I would.
Is I think that I would trade him before I made him a bench player.
Really?
I just think that either you trade him,
unless he's in a package. He's not a needle mover.
I would either trade him just on the upside and like top prospect.
Yeah, he used to be a top 25.
Or give him 2-3 weeks, see what you have there. If he's not, then you relegate him to the bench.
Yeah.
Just because that's so hard I hate that with top prospects. So, yeah, he's had his chances, but I think you give him one more year or one more shot. He doesn't do anything, then it's time that it's
unless
over.
Alonso leaves, there's no spot for him.
That's the tough part.
Then you move Vientos first, Beatty the third, whatever. But plan B, you sign a first baseman not named Pete Alonso for some reason. You go get a Christian Walker. You call the Rays about Yandy Diaz. Is he available? You call the Guardians about Josh Naylor. They have Kyle Manzardo to play first base there. David Fry just had Tommy John, so he's out. So Naylor is probably a little less likely now than it was 2 days ago when I made this, because you can flip him first DH. You sign a Tier 2 starting pitcher. Again, a Minaya, a Severino, a Buehler, a Eovaldi. A Tier 3 starting pitcher. Nick Pivetta got the qualifying offer, and I am very upset.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, A, I think he accepts it. B, the Mets want to go after him. They're not going to give up a draft pick for Nick Pivetta. But I liked Nick Pivetta. He was on this before he got the qualifying offer. I'm just putting it out there.
Just really quickly, first baseman. Calling the Royals at all?
I don't think they move him.
I don't think so either. I just want to get.
Watch stays.
I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah. But Tier 3, Nick Pivetta, Matthew Boyd, a little reclamation project. Yusei Kikuchi could be a solid 3. And then an outfield/DH, you go big on. You go get a Teoscar Hernandez. Anthony Santander, I'm a little. The on base is scary.
The on base is.
On base is very scary.
It's very scary. He is I don't even know who I would say, because most power guys have high on bases.
Yeah. In this plan, I have Acuna playing second base. Jeff McNeil moves over to right field, splits time with Marte. So if that being said, you kind of need a utility. So do you go see Ha-Seong Kim? Get him for like a kind of not like a bench role, but kind of like an everyday utility role. Like he's in the lineup, but he's playing a different position. You know what I mean? Again, Kike Hernandez, he can also be an option. And then plan C, which is kind of like the most of the three. Obviously, it's plan C.
It's plan C.
You move Vientos to first. You go look at the third base market. Do you sign Alex Bregman? You look at Jorge Polanco. Maybe you just get him the hell out of Seattle. Yohan Moncada, you take a flyer on.
Oh, that.
Again. Do you give Brett
Alonso with Moncada?
I know. You give Brett Beatty the keys back to third base. You go out, sign a Tier 2 starting pitching. I went that at length.
Calling the Cardinals at all?
For who?
Arenado. Take out your bias.
I thought about it. It's a lot of money. I don't know who else you would get in that package because you're not just trading for Arenado. I don't know. You could like Arenado and a Donovan or something like that.
Sonny Gray, I know that's a lot of
That's
money.
a lot of money.
It's a lot of
That's
money,
a shit
but
ton of money. I don't know. I probably don't call about Arenado. His bat has slowed down. His defense is still good. It's an option. I probably wouldn't do it.
I was just curious on your opinion on that.
A tier 2 starting pitching, again, Manaea, Severino, Buehler, Eovaldi. A tier 3/4 starting pitcher, that's your Jose Quintanas, Michael Lorenzen, kind of like play around with him. A Spencer Turnbull, he had a really good year with the Phillies. You play around with him, mix up his pitch mix. Center fielder, do you give Drew Gilbert the keys right off the bat in opening day? Do you go sign out a Harrison Bader, a Michael A. Taylor? But then you kind of just fill out the rest with not the scraps, but, the lower tier guys.
I feel like the Mets there's 2 paths the Mets can take. And are you done with your plans?
That was all my plans.
There's 2 paths the Mets can take.
Okay.
They could either go, spend a lot of money, or this year you re-sign Alonso. You kind of, I don't want to say run it back, but you bring a lot of like the guys back, but let all the kids play, see what you have with the kids. Yeah, maybe except for the pitchers. For the pitchers, that's a completely different story. But for the hitters, I think you almost give Drew Gilbert time. You give Acuna a lot of time. You find some sort of role for Beatty, whether it be Marte at DH, and then you shove Beatty out in the outfield just to get him in the lineup, see what you have. So I think they either spend an absurd amount, like you said, $800 million, $850, whatever that was, or they kind of let the kids play.
Yeah.
That's what I think they should do. I think they may do something kind of in the middle.
Me too.
But
Me too. Again, it all depends on Juan Soto. That's really what it comes down to.
There's like 5 teams that entire offseason plans change drastically.
Yeah. I do think there's a world where Juan Soto and Pete Alonso are on the same team. But
in New York?
Yeah.
Where?
Who knows? But if you do sign Juan Soto, I do think it takes the Pete Alonso chances down.
Good. I think
I think if the money's right, I think they do it with Alonso. Yeah. But again, who knows? Another guy I forgot to mention in a trade is you call the Diamondbacks about Jordan Montgomery, give him a full offseason, get him in the pitching lab. Do you grab an Alec Thomas with him? He plays center field. He's a backup outfielder. You platoon him and Tyrone. There is a lot of options, but a lot of it depends on Juan Soto and what roles they want to give the players. Like you said, what role is Acuna going to play? Is he your starting second baseman? I don't think so. Drew Gilbert, is he your starting center fielder? Maybe they give him the chance to win it out of spring training. He missed a lot of the year of hamstring injury, but maybe they give him a shot. Like you said, what role does Brett Beatty play? What role does Ronnie Mauricio play? Is Jose Butu a reliever? Is Jose Butu a starter? There's a lot of question marks they need to answer before they can really even look at the free agent market. But obviously, it's Juan Soto and everyone else. So that's really all I had. I know it was a lot to take in, a lot of process, a lot of names. At the end of the day, the Mets have $180 million coming off the books. They have a very smart president of baseball operations at the helm at the beginning of free agency. They have a lot of top prospects that are closing up on Major League ready. You could give them a chance. You could trade them away for a bigger piece. There is a lot this Mets team can do, with or without Soto. Call me crazy. I think they can still have a really good offseason without Juan Soto.
It's not a crazy take.
It's going to be disappointing, maybe. I will be disappointed. But I think they can still have a very good offseason if they miss out on Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's really all I got. We'll talk more in depth as rumors start swirling.
I'm not ready for this shit, bro. It's gonna be such a migraine. All the fake accounts.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really interesting. It's gonna be fun. So, any thoughts on Mets offseason? My plans? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Which one do you love? Which one do you hate?
I think the Mets have so many more options. They have so many routes that they could go with this, where
I agree.
the Yankees kind of are, I don't want to say pigeonholed, where
It's kind of Soto or bust.
the need for Soto for the Yankees, I think, is significantly higher than the Mets.
Mhm.
Just in the sense of you had him, you
Yeah.
know what you're missing. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you saw what that did to the lineup. I just think there's so many. The Mets can have a very successful all season without getting Soto. I don't think you could say the same for the Yankees.
I would agree.
So
I would agree. But yeah, there's tons of options. Even there's other pitching options I didn't really mention that they could play around with. Get him in the pitching lab, fix up his pitch mix, his delivery, whatever you want to call it. But this free agent market is very top heavy. That goes without saying. It's your Corbin Burns, it's your Blake Snells, your Max Fried, and then Jack Flaherty. I love Sean Manaea, but Sean Manaea, Luis Severino. Then you drop down Michael Lorenzen, Spencer. Even Soto, Teoscar, Santander, Conforto, Winker. Then you get to that route. So
you want to give me Conforto over Santander.
you know what? I think that's fair.
Just because of the on base and how much less you would have to play Conforto, but
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I'm kind of buying myself into a Conforto reunion, so I'm getting myself ready to be hurt. But if you got anything else, no. Well, it's great to finally talk Mets again. Be on the lookout for later this week. We'll have same thing all for the Yankees. Talk about the Yankees offseason with yours truly. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. As always, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're officially on Apple Podcasts.
We are so back.
Follow all of our social media accounts at Triboro Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're posting a lot there. Facebook. Did I say Instagram? I think I did. I said Twitter. That's everything. At Triboro Podcast. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Find wherever you get your social media fix. But yeah, thank you guys again, and we'll see you later this week with the Yankees offseason.